Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Hope you guys have been doing well. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. It is now finally Sunday. It's Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier being around with you guys. So thank you guys for coming in. This is your first time here. I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Just your neighborhood-friendly libertarian coming to talk to you about politics and social issues around the country, one liberty at a time. So thank you for joining in. I'm excited. I had a really good weekend. Got a lot done in the pursuit of opening the eyes of liberty to people, trying to fight against the indoctrination, trying to help smooth out the path for the future, for a better future. And certainly that meant having to put up with a lot of the lefty shtick, if you will, what we've been seeing on Twitter. So we will get through this show, and I'm sure it's going to be a little bit bumpy of a road, but nonetheless, we got to go through what kind of socialism is being projected out there. And certainly, right, socialism is something that's wrong, it's immoral, it's disgusting, it's not factually correct, and it's not morally right. And so we're going to go through some of the tweets and the ideas from both the big socialist talking heads that we have in this country right now, and that would be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, one that is a presidential candidate for not only 2016, where he got bumped out, but also now he is going for 2020 as well. And of course, the other one, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is still trying to figure out where exactly Mitch McConnell, where his office is. So it'll be fun to go through their tweets and what's been going on in their stupid neck of the woods, if you will. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the wonderful ISIS woman. If you guys have not heard of her, that is Hoda Muthana. If I butcher the name, I apologize. But at the end of the day, I only apologize for people that share the same name, because I think this is a disgusting individual. So we'll talk a little bit about her and her history and what's going on with that. We do got to talk about the red flag gun law confiscations. And how that's been going. So we got an article from the National Association for Gun Rights. So we're going to go through that. That's not something that's going to make you guys really excited if you guys are super on board with thinking that Trump is in favor of the Second Amendment. But we'll go through that. And then I also want to bring back a flashback. I want to bring up an article from way back when. And way back when would happen to be January 14th, 1987. You're like, why? Why would we want to pull up an article from back then? Well, that was when the New York Times, that's right, the New York Times actually cared about journalism, where they wanted to project out the truth, and they wanted to project out what's good, and not what feels good, but what is good. And by good, I mean correct, by truthful, by factual. So we're going to read through that one as well. I think we might open up with that one, actually. But apart from that, we will give a little bit of an update on what's going on with the national emergency being declared from President Trump. We're going to talk a little bit about the bills that's being pushed out, how this might work, how this might not work, if there's going to be enough votes. And so we'll get into that a little more in depth. But I do think that this New York Times article is certainly one that is much needed right now, when the discussion coming from Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a lot of people on the left side of the aisle, they want to push out there and say that $15 minimum wage is the right answer. Well, I have news for you. From January 14th, 1987. Older than I am. All right, I'm showing my youth, I guess. They have this article called "The Right Minimum Wage, $0, 0 cents." Woo! $0, 0 cents. Are you kidding me? How can they be serious? Really? Who can live off of $0 and 0 cents? Well, we'll read through this article real quick. Be able to push through this. I'm not going to add too much commentary. I'm going to try to keep the commentary down a little bit, but I think it's really good. So at that time, the federal minimum wage has been frozen at $3.35 an hour for 6 years. Ooh. In some states, it now compares unfavorably, even with the welfare benefits available without working. It's no wonder that the entity, Edward Kennedy, the new chairman of the Senate Labor Committee, is being pressed by organized labor to battle for an increase. No wonder, but still a mistake. Anyone working in America surely deserves a better living standard that can be managed on $3.35 an hour, but there's a virtual consensus among economists that the minimum wage is an idea whose time has passed. Raising the minimum wage by a substantial amount would price working poor people out of the job. A far better way to help them would be to subsidize their wages, or better yet, help them acquire the skills needed to earn more on their own. An increase in the minimum wage to, say, $4.35 would restore the purchasing power of bottom-tier wages. It would also permit a minimum wage breadwinner to almost enough to keep a family of three above the official poverty line. There are catches, however. It would increase employees' incentives to evade the law, expanding the underground economy. More important, it would increase unemployment, raise the legal minimum price for labor for the productivity of the least skilled workers, and fewer will be hired. It's weird. Right, we've covered the minimum wage a lot, but for some reason, the points that I've been making have been those points that withstand the trials of time. So it was true in 2019 when I said, and when we can take economists of today and use them and have them say this. It was true back in '87. It's been true for a long time. And so it's beautiful to see the New York Times come from this, and I believe it was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. We read an article from the New York Times where they were saying, yeah, in New York they had $15 an hour, but that's not enough. Let's go 33. Where was the flip? It was those darn journalists bringing back the Laura Logan situation. You know, the 85% of journalists being on the left. You know, that might be a reason why they went from $0.00 is a good wage. It's not a wage that of course you can live off of, but it tells you, hey, we want to help you get a job, and maybe that means you'd be less than what the current minimum wage is, but you'd at least have some income, and you'd be able to help build up your future in that way. It's crazy to have arguments that stand the test of times, but nonetheless, the left doesn't like that. They don't like the fact that principled ideas still don't work in their favor. So the left comes out, $15 an hour, $33 an hour, $500 an hour. They don't care. They just want more of your money and believe that somehow this is going to stimulate the economy and make it great. Keynesian economics is a failure of a system, and it will be a failure of a system, and it will continue to be a failure of a system. It's just the way that Keynesian is. It sucks. It sucks outright. I love that I'm not getting any of your guys' comments. Be nice. Oh, is she American? No. She is not American. Should be forgiven her for her mistakes and given another chance and allowed to return to America. Glad you believe that, Mohammed. Thank God they need to increase the minimum wage. New York is up to $15 an hour. That was a good start. Hopefully more states raise the minimum wage to $1 every 5 hours. I mean, that's still way too much. $1 every 5 hours, yeah, it's way too much. $0.00. I agree with you on that one, Lynn. Absolutely. Get rid of the minimum wage. Allow people to actually... Because let's face it, right? If you're going to go into a work, if you're going to start up a job, you're going to be an apprentice, you don't get paid. All right? Now imagine if the minimum wage was lower and they said, you know what, we don't want to give you like a regular wage, but we're willing to give you some money. Now they're actually able to do that. But if it's a minimum wage, no, you're not getting wages, it's fine. You know, so there's many reasons why it would be better to not have a minimum wage and to allow people to have transactions with one another and to be able to set up contracts and be able to hold each other accountable to those things. It would just be better for the economy overall. But nonetheless, it's not about what's good and not about what's right. It's about what feels good and feels right. That's what's important, guys. And while we're on that, we got to bring up what's her faces? The Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has let the power already get to her. The idea that power corrupts and absolute power absolutely corrupts. This is being showed to be another one of those things that is holding up against the trials of time, right? Because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has already said, she had a tweet, and the gist of it was that we're going to be pushing this Green New Deal. And if you don't have any better ideas, that sucks. You're yelling from the cheap seats. Screw you, we're in control. Like, that's basically the gist of it. Of course, I don't think she said screw you, but basically that rhetoric, that idea, she has already allowed and is thinking that because she is one singular member of the House, right? 435th of the House, that she is the powerhouse. She is the one that is going to be running crazy with control. She's going to be signing this bill into effect by herself, and everyone needs to bow down to her. I got news. I got news for people. Here's a quick civics lesson, right? You're 435th of the House, which is one half of Congress, right? The other half would be the Senate. And then the third branch, or the second branch that gets involved of the three, would be the executive branch. She doesn't have any control over President Trump on this. So she's going to need to hope that some crazy lefty loony is able to indoctrinate enough people in this country to come into power. But that also means that they have to fight against Scholz, right? The old CEO from Starbucks. They got to fight against him, make sure that he doesn't splinter off enough votes. They got to make sure that they aren't allowing for anyone with actual intelligence to be out there running for the left, running more of a moderate run or anything else. And that's just to get to the nomination. Once they get to the nomination, then they have to be able to overcome President Trump. They have to overcome all these other different things, and I don't think that they're ready for this. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, not talking out of the mouth, talking out of her ass in typical fashion, and really just showing that she believes that she is a ruler. She is that dominant force that is something to be reckoned with. And, for somebody to have gone after the media for talking about the hypocrisy of her and everything else, and to act so frail and so fragile the entire time, right? Since she made it into the news, it's just crazy that she really does display a small man complex where, you can't make fun of her because it's going to cause her to be enraged, cause her to be mad, but she's willing to be boastful. She's willing to act as if she's the authority on all these situations. And I mean, just looking at the Green New Deal, we went through and read it word for word. It is absolute 100% tyrannical governmental control. It is disgusting. And I'm glad to see a lot more splintering happening there in the DNC. Because if you guys missed it, Dianne Feinstein got on the shit list of every crazy lefty loony out there. Because Dianne Feinstein had a bunch of kids, right? You got to get the little the children that are invulnerable, that can't be criticized, that you can't talk back to, that you can't tell them no. The parents brought the children into Dianne Feinstein and said, "You need to vote for the Green New Deal. We voted for you." And Dianne Feinstein is like, "How old are y'all?" "I'm 12. "All right, you didn't vote for me. You shut your mouth." She was very blunt about saying, "No, I don't have to listen to you. I've been doing this for a lot longer than you've been alive." And that caused the left to be outraged. How dare you not be stepping in line? And her staffers have had the phone coming off of the hook. Sorry, the establishment's not on board with this. This isn't news for you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If you can't even whip your own side in line, if you can't even keep them in control, how do you expect to keep the American populace in control? It needs to go away. Tyranny, it's an outline. Heisenberg, I realize, I know that it's an outline, but imagine trying to get that implemented. It is not in any way, shape, or form a government that can implement that and not be full on control and tyrannical in every sense, right? When you are saying, look, this type of food is not allowed. When you say that every building in this country has to be torn down and rebuilt within the regulations. When you say all of these different things, and you're having a government that is going to be providing so many millions of jobs to so many different people, right? When they're controlling your life, when they're controlling your employment, your healthcare, your buildings, your infrastructure, when they're controlling literally everything by the implementation of this, it is absolutely ridiculous and nonsensical to believe that it would not be a tyrannical government that would have to function with this. It is not in any way a government that is limited or within the control of the people. But it's for the children. Yeah, it's for the children. And so, it's beautiful to see the splintering happening there in the DNC. Let's see if it can be absolutely destructive. I would love to see the Democratic Party just be splintered off into two different parties and just never be effective or efficient at being able to get another voter again. I've been cheering loudly for the walkaway, for the for the Blexit, and for any other organization, any other movement that has pulled people away from the left. That is the best thing that we can do. Because if you want to be in America, individual liberty has been and should be always the supreme thought. It is not about the collective. It's not about hate for one group or another group. It's about understanding that the individual should have all of the power. Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. I agreed with Feinstein as well. There was a bill I was going to talk about. Nope. It's not coming to my head. Talking about lefties. Talking about Dianne Feinstein, Alexandria. That's what I was going to talk about. So Jussie Smollett. I gotta go through this, all right, guys, because there's been a lot of people asking, should Jussie Smollett go to jail? And the gut reaction, I'm right there with you guys, right? The gut reaction is absolutely put that piece of garbage, put him in jail, and let him sit there and let him rot for trying to destroy the lives of others. Let him rot for making a hoax and getting national syndicated or getting it syndicated. And then projecting off this lie and just trying to gain off of the backs of the sympathies of others, right? We don't like it when people are faking their service in the military, right? Stolen valor. We don't like that. We don't like it when people are saying that they're homeless and they're not really homeless, right? We don't like it when people take from the sympathy of others and it wasn't even an honest reason. So I'm right there with you guys on that idea at the gut feeling, right? But logically, here's the libertarian. He shouldn't be thrown in jail. Now let me explain it before you guys get too angry, before you guys get upset about this. Why should he not be in jail? Because there was actually no victim. The only victim was himself, right? He paid for somebody else to come in and to assault him. No crime, no victim. He had paid that and everything else. Going on cable and pushing lie. Absolutely. Disgusting, right? So there was no crime there. People want to say that the MAGA movement or the white people in this country, those were victimized by this. That was an indirect, and that was him trying to push that on. But because the investigation was done properly, because of all this coming out, yes, there was some blowback, but that was indirect blowback. And one of the issues is whenever we say, look, I'm a MAGA person, they're a MAGA person, so therefore an attack on this MAGA person is an attack on me. When we get down into the identity level of this stuff, the identity politics, whether it's by your group, by your party, by your movement, whatever it is, whenever you accept the identity of another and you bring that onto yourself, you get a claim to be victim, but you're not really actually a victim. So he pointed at two people in the ether and said that there's two white guys and they said MAGA country and so everyone claimed victim on that and feeling like you're a victim is not the same as being a victim, I would say, and so not even there. Do I think that he should get off scot-free? Absolutely 100% no. No, absolutely not. There was a lot of taxpayer funded investigations going on. So those investigations, they need to be paid for, and it shouldn't be coming out of the taxpayer's wallet. So that should be coming out of Jussie Smollett. Real quick, side note, shared this on the Muddy Waters of Freedom page on Facebook. If you guys have not been following Muddy Waters of Freedom, go over to Facebook, find them, Muddy Waters of Freedom. Fantastic content, absolutely hilarious. But, a lie is a lie, no matter how Smollett is. But, yes, so make sure you guys go over to Muddy Waters Freedom and like the page, subscribe to it, and follow it, join in on it. We have conversations occasionally, and it's a good time. You'll have a good laugh by giving that a follow. But so fine him for the investigation, right? That should be number one. However much it is, for every donut that was eaten, for every coffee that was sipped, for every break that was taken, it doesn't matter. Have that be paid for, right? And then on top of that, you can even fine people, right? If you want to fine him on top of that, if you want to put a little bit of an excess, put another 5%, 10% on top, right? Go for it, right? There should be a punishment there. But putting him in the prison system, what does the prison system do? It just means that the taxpayers have to pay for that as well, right? So if he's paying for the prison system, I can't have an argument against there. I think that might get into the Eighth Amendment violation, but however it is, right, make him pay for what he's done wrong, and then let him move on with life. He's already getting dropped from the Empire, so there's no big issue there, and we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, the Jussie Smollett situation, that definitely, that got a lot of gears turning. It got a lot of people angered for a little while, but I think once we get down to it, once we get to the core of it and really hit it with some logic, welcome in, Colleen. Once you hit it with some logic, it's hard to dispute, right? We want it. We want to feel the good. We want to see him locked up, thrown into a cage, have him sit there for long periods of time. But is it in the greatest benefit? Is it is it actually going to make it better, or is it just merely seeking justice, or not seeking justice, but seeking revenge for what he did? Written out of the last two shows, it isn't fired. Okay, maybe not, but he's definitely is not going to be there long term. From what I've heard, or from what I understand, they're getting him out of it. So the last big hubbub that is coming from coming from the Middle East is this Hoda Muthana. If you guys don't know who Hoda is a woman who is, I believe, 19 years old. Nope, 24 years old. Hoda was somebody that was born in America, but her father was a Yemeni diplomat, and so by the 14th Amendment, it would not be applicable to her. And so there's a concern that he was no longer a diplomat within a month of her being born, and so how does it line up? And I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless, the claim is that she is not a United States citizen by those grounds, and she left from her home state of Alabama to go over to the Middle East, and while over there, let me see if I can pull this up. She went over to Syria, and while she was there, she joined the Islamic State, and she supported the Islamic State. She utilized her Twitter in order to be critical of the United States, as well as to advocate for radical attacks against the Western world. So this is not a good person by any means. And yes, there is some claims that she was taken captive and she's just doing what she could in order to survive. She went through 3 husbands while she was there. Remember, she's 24 years old, so she's already kind of mentally devastated, I would say. But she was there for 4 years, right? She was there for 4 years. She got involved. She has a child now, and she's seeking to come back to the United States. She wants to come back. She wants people to sympathize with her. She wants the support. She wants the boo-hoos. And she believes that this is going to... I read that she had 2 passports. I'm not sure about the third. Hakuna Matata. She wants us to feel bad for her not being able to come back to the United States. Her father has been working to get the UN on board as well as the U.S. to be able to come back to the U.S. and to be a citizen, or to however it is that she wants to come here. And I can't find it. I can't find the sympathy. I've been searching for a good couple of hours. I can't find an inkling, a scintilla of sadness for this woman. I can't in any way. Because when you go over across the seas, right? This might, people might hate me for this, and that's fine. But when you go across the seas and you're working with a group that promises destruction to the entire Western society, to all of Europe, to America, to Australia, to parts of Asia, right? And when you're a part of a group like that, it doesn't just go away. You don't just wake up one day and go, I'm not about this life anymore. I seeing the severed heads all the time and becoming numb to them, suddenly they mean something to me. Something clicked in me, and now they mean a person, right? This isn't a normal psychological development that people go through. And so I could not see in any way that she's going to be coming to the US and be happy around us, be acceptable, be able to assimilate. And so if she does come back, I could not imagine in any way that treason would not be something that she should be looked at, right? Because she's conspiring with a group that has advocated the destruction of America, right? That's clear. So even if she was to come back, right, treason, let her know, hey, you want to come back, you'll probably be hung. If that's in your future plans, then we can have a discussion. If that's not in your plans, if that's not what you want, then you go ahead and just stay over there and you keep working with ISIS. Or if you want to break away from them, you do you, boo-boo. But I really don't think that this is certainly something that of course the left-wing media has gone apeshit over. The police tells me to shave the beard. That's cute. And this isn't something the media should have been making a big hubbub about, but nonetheless, of course they will. And this isn't something that the left should be making a big hubbub about, but they will, because it's one heart, it's one life, and we should be trying to protect them. But at the same time, saying infanticide is okay with me. Has anyone been hung for treason lately? No, they have not. They have not been hung lately. And really that brings up a good point, that we aren't holding our representatives accountable. Could you imagine 1700s, early 1800s, when your politicians were found to be corrupt, when your politicians were advocating the taking of rights of American citizens on a grand scale? They were hung. They were taken out back. They were killed. Why has America gotten so soft? I'm not saying this because we need to go out and go out and do these on our own, but certainly we need to be at least using the system, take the system and actually hold people accountable, hold these politicians accountable when they want to strip the rights of the American people. That actually is a perfect segue. But when they want to strip the rights of the American citizens from being able to keep and bear arms, to being able to protect themselves, to protect their property, their life, their liberty, their pursuit of happiness, when you're incapable of being able to protect that, then seriously, they should not be in office. The Constitution is not a negotiation. The Constitution was not ever a guideline. It is the supreme law of the land in accordance with Article 6, Clause 2. the supreme law of the land, which means that every time that they advocate against it, it doesn't matter. It is unconstitutional. And as these politicians have emboldened themselves and given themselves all this implied power, as they've been gaining this power, they now have the audacity to be pushing for things such as the red flag gun confiscation. So between the red flag gun confiscations and the no-knock raids, as of late, we are seeing the trust and the belief in the judicial system, in the executive, and in the police forces dwindling rapidly, and rightfully so. So we covered last week, we covered a no-knock raid. Sorry, it was last Friday. We covered a no-knock raid in which 2 innocent people were killed from a no-knock raid. 4 officers were shot and one busted up his knee. We've covered, in the past, we covered the first couple of red flag gun confiscations. We've covered those in which people were killed for not wanting to give up their right to the Second Amendment. And now written on the February 20th, so 2 days ago, from the day Speaker Pelosi took control of the House, Second Amendment rights have been under constant attack. Between the Feinstein assault weapons ban, red flag laws, and universal background checks, aka National Gun Registry, I think we've covered that many a times, defending constitutionality or constitutional protected gun rights is an uphill battle in the DC swamp. And unfortunately, just this last year, President Trump himself supported gun seizing without due process, saying, "I like taking the guns early." Like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. Take the guns first and worry about due process later. Now, 1 year after the horrific tragedy in Parkland, Florida, the White House is once again caving on the demands of the gun grabbers by endorsing these red flag laws. It took nearly 10 months for the Federal Commission on School Safety, established by the Trump administration in the wake of the Parkland shooting, to restore these recommendations, or to release these recommendations. One of the following recommendations was an endorsement of national red flag laws like the ones being used to confiscate legally owned guns from law-abiding citizens in states like Maryland and California. From the Federal Commissioner on School Safety Report, other recommendations include encouraging states to adopt laws permitting extreme risk protection orders, which can prevent individuals who pose a threat to themselves. It should be prevent individuals that may or appear to or thought of or not liked to appear to a threat to themselves or from others possessing or purchasing firearms. So that's right. You don't have to go through a court system. Somebody says for a lot of these states, for Maryland specifically in the event that we covered, it was the man's sister. His sister had said, I don't really like this guy. We got into an argument. And so she called the cops. Cops were like, all right, well, we'll process this paper. They actually went through the extreme risk protection order process. They put it into a judge. The judge was like, all right, without ever seeing this guy, without this guy being able to defend himself, he was like, all right, go take his guns. So they show up at 5:37 in the morning. I believe that was the time. Pretty good with the numbers occasionally. But they show up really early in the morning, between 5 and 6. And knock on the door. The dude shows up. They go to take his gun. They ask him for his gun, and he doesn't want to give it to them. And so then they struggle. The struggle ensues. And during the struggle, one of the officers thinks, oh, he's about to shoot us. So he shoots this man and takes his life. Give people $100 cash, you get more than 80% guns. So this ERPO is just absolutely disgusting. The Federal Bureau of Investigation of Public Access Lines, a critical component of the FBI's efforts to keep America safe, has undergone changes to improve the process for receiving and evaluating tips from the public, which just basically means that they opened up the lines to be able to accept more people to call in, because if you have a left-wing person on the road and a right-wing person on the road, the left-wing person is going to call on the right-wing person and get their guns confiscated, and they want to open this up and make it as readily available as possible, because we know that the government is not here to protect your rights, your liberty, your pursuits of happiness, but instead to infringe upon you, and this is why the left is winning and the government has grown so much. We'll continue. Of course, what is not being reported is how red flag laws strip law-abiding gun owners of the right to keep and bear arms without due process. Well, I said that. In fact, gun confiscation laws currently in place at the state level have already led to the death of one owner on his doorstep in Maryland. With mere accusation and with no due process or presumption of innocence. I really should have read this one before I brought it with you guys. I apologize. An anti-gun family member, ex-partner, neighbor, or other acquaintance, depending on the state, can ask the government to seize legally owned guns from law-abiding citizens. A simple claim that someone is crazy or dangerous because they support the Second Amendment is all it takes. In technical terms, they call it an ex parte order. In reality, it's a rubber stamp followed by a SWAT team raiding the gun owner's home at 5 in the morning. Sounds good. So glad that my rights are just so willfully taken away from me. Make no mistake, red flag gun confiscation laws, sometimes called ERPOs, are the first step towards the mass gun confiscation schemes seen across the globe. You start taking a couple individuals, they don't put up a resistance. You start taking a little more, they don't put up resistance. And then, first they came for the AR-15. First they came for the fully automatics. Then they came for the bump stocks. Then they came for the AR-15s. And then they went for the semi-automatics. And then all we were left with was shotguns. Shotguns and bolt-action rifles. Woo-wee! We can set up a real good defense against the tyrannical government. Of course not. The American populace has gone soft, allowed for gun confiscations to go on for far too long, and we the people are being disarmed, and our government is growing every day towards the line of becoming tyrannical. And as Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and probably Hillary Clinton coming up, with all of these people, they just want to take your rights away. That's really it, right? You have a right to go and find your own happiness. You have a right to go and seek out healthcare, good healthcare. And they want to take away the good healthcare in this country, and they want to implement veteran healthcare for all. Veteran healthcare for all. You know that wonderful thing where we have 22 veterans per day committing suicide because they're not getting the proper treatment? Yes, let's bring this to all Americans. They don't care about your rights, they don't care about your freedoms, and they certainly don't care about you in the slightest. Stand in their way, and you're just another dead body. Stand in the way, and they'll take you to the gulag. Despicable. Destructive and absolutely despicable. All right. Let's catch up on the Trump's national emergency. So if you guys don't remember, if you guys somehow missed it, the government was planning on shutting down last week, and it was saved. It was saved. We had a bill come from the bipartisan wall negotiations, if you will. They brought up a bill, and they gave President Trump $1.375 billion to pay for the wall. And President Trump said, nope, I wanted 5.7. So President Trump has declared a national emergency. During this national emergency, his plan was to get $8 billion. $8 billion sounds a little more like sounds a little more than 5.7 billion, and of course it is. So he's got about 9, a little over 9 if this goes through. So right now we've had 16 states come out and put a lawsuit against this, saying that it's unconstitutional, it's just not right, blah 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 blah. The problem is the way that our entire system has been structured and has been working is absolutely stupid and nonsensical. So we have bills, we have acts that are somehow superseding what is written in the Constitution. So the National Emergencies Declaration Act of 1973 has been a big point of contention. It has been what has allowed the president to declare this. Sorry, 1976. It gave him broad authority to declare national emergencies. But the key part is that it gives Congress the power to pass a resolution striking it down. So not only are there states that are fighting against this and trying to bring this back down. Did he sign the bill? We are working on that right now. So it is still, I believe it's still in the House. This article was written today, or 2 days ago. I believe it is still in the House. I apologize. Let me see if I've got one that's closer That one's still there as well. But so when it comes to this, there's one point that's really it's not shocking at all, and I wish that I was shocked by this, but there's 200 at the time. There's 222 co-sponsors on this bill. This was HG Res. Let me see if I can pull up that picture. Let me see if I can blow it up for you guys. But this is from Castro from Texas. Jaquan. It's not coming up fast enough. All right, but so it doesn't have it. So nonetheless, this resolution has 220 co-sponsors, and one of them, only one of them, happens to be a Republican, and that would of course be Justin Amash, the man that has been consistent, the man that has held the principles, the man that has held the same standards, regardless on if it was a Republican or a Democrat that was in office. And he's stirred the pot a little bit by calling out those Republicans that say, look, I'm all in favor of limiting an overbearing president of the United States when I disagree with them, but when I agree with the president, then I get to sway a little bit, I get to bend a little bit, I get to show my flexibility on this. And Justin Amash said no, absolutely not. We have to stand in the same against the president of the United States. It doesn't matter who the president is, if you like him or whatever, even if you agree with what he's trying to do. This is not in the tenor, this is not in the intent, and this is not how we should be functioning. Now, if this passes in the House, and it likely will, it will go to the Senate. The Senate there's an opportunity there for it to pass as well. So even though there's only 50 or 47 Democrats in office, you best believe that all 47 of them will sign this because it hurts Trump. It's not about the premise. It's not about the standard or the policy or the values there. It's about hurting Trump. Let's not beat around the bush with this. It's not about what it is. It's about who it was going against. That means that we're going to have 4 Republicans. Now, how are we going to get these 4 Republicans? Who are the potentials for the Republicans? Well, people that have spoken against this would be Senator Lamar Alexander. If you guys follow Real Person Politics, if you guys follow James, if you guys follow Mac Files, they've got a nice slogan for him. They got a nice little motto, and I apologize. Block your kids' ears in 3, 2, 1. It is fuck you, Lamar. So Senator fuck you, Lamar Alexander from Tennessee. You have Senator Tom Tillis from North Carolina. You have Lisa Murkowski. You have Rand Paul. You've got Ron Johnson, Marco Rubio, and Susan Collins. So you've got 7 potentials right there, or 6 potentials. I can't even count my fingers right now. You have 6 potentials right there that may actually have enough swing to get this passed and through the Senate. Right? So it goes through the House and it goes through the Senate. I really wish Alexandria Ocasio was here, because then we could talk to her about how a bill gets passed, right? She missed the rainy day recesses in school where they played that. But once it passed to the House and the Senate, then it goes to the president. Do you think that the president is going to actually stand up and go, yeah, you know what, I guess the House and the Senate wanted to do this, let's go ahead and sign this? No, he's going to veto it. This is where it falls dead. Trying to swing enough Republicans and trying to swing enough Republicans in the House and the Senate, this is where it's going to fall out. This is why I've always been against the idea of trying to expand out, give the president more authority than what was bestowed upon him in the Constitution, taking that and then going, all right, well, we'll hope that Congress is going to be able to come together and make sure that he doesn't overreach his steps. So if the idea is to limit all branches of government, stupid bills like national emergencies of 1973 or 76 and War Powers Act of I think that one was 1983. looking at those bills, these are not good bills. It does not go in line with the tenor of the Constitution. And certainly, if we didn't have this bastardized way of running the system of the legislative branch and of the judicial branch, then those would already be struck down, because Article 6, Section 2, Clause 2, Article 6, Clause 2 would be the Constitution and laws in the pursuance thereof. And the pursuance thereof would be supreme law of the land. Get that crap out of here. Stop trying to mangle and destroy the Constitution without actually having an amendment process. You want to destroy the amendment process? Get 3/4 of the states on board. Actually use the system that's there. Stop subverting it. Stop trying to go around it, and actually be a man or woman for the Constitution, which you took an oath for, regardless of which branch, which position you got into. You made an oath. Hold up to it and stop being a little unfriendly person. There we go. Trying to keep the swears down, guys. I apologize. So that's going to fall flat on its face, of course, once it is vetoed. But I don't think that that's never a reason not to push forward, right? If you are in office, you should be fighting against it every time, right? We saw Thomas Massey throughout this last year. He put up a bill. It was a very simple bill. It was 1 line long. It was really 2 lines long, but it was 1 sentence long. And it was basically starting on December 1st, 2020, I believe it was, the Department of Education is abolished. Any chances it's going to pass? No. You throw it out there and you make it known that that should be the stance, because it's not in the tenor of the Constitution. It's not written in the Constitution. It's not a federal authority. It's not something that should be in there at all. And certainly the federal government doesn't need to be doing this. Let me catch up on the comments real quick. I'm running for president as a pre-op transgender. Liberals will have to vote for a Republican. Would be a good joke to get voted in and say I changed my mind. That would be that. Oh, I don't know. I mean, at least then you could say you had a mind, right? There's some that we still have no proof. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being that one. It's just so nonsensical. But I realized I didn't have the call-in number. I've got the call-in number up right now, guys. If you guys wanted to call in, you guys got something you want to add into the show, 802-671-5328. 802-671-5328. Feel free to call in, whether I covered something earlier and you want to talk about that, or if something that I missed entirely and you want to bring that up. Feel free. Mi platform is su platform. I don't know how to say platform in Spanish. I probably shouldn't have said it. Don't come after me. It's not like that, guys. But yeah, no. How do I go about this? We covered the Drag Queen Story Hour last week, and since then I've been seeing a lot more people trying to keep stirring up the pot and getting ready for more hatred, more vitriol. It's just not effective. Carter started Department of Education. Now we're ranked 25th and 30th in the world. It's despicable. It's destructive. When are you going to have another kid? Due in August. August 1st right now is the due date. So having the other kid coming up this next weekend, we will be firing off. I'll be firing off some lead down range, shooting the target, blowing the smoke, and figuring out what gender it will be. Yes, we are those parents that are going to determine the gender of our baby based off of the biological gender, the sexual organs, and everything else. How intolerant of us. But yes, we'll be having our gender reveal next weekend. I'm excited for that. That'll be a good time. Fantastic time, of course, bringing in new life into the world. It's already here, but bringing new life into outside of the womb, if you will. You mentioning Pelosi. Okay, so here was something I did want to cover with you guys earlier. Did you guys notice the hug-a-thon down there, down south, down at the border? Nancy Pelosi made a publicity stunt, if you will. Let me pull up exactly what this was called. I don't want to butcher this for you guys. All right. participates in the U.S.-Mexico hug ceremony on the border near Laredo, Texas. So, I was watching this, and certainly, if you guys haven't seen this, you guys got to go check my Twitter feed. If you look at the way she's walking, she looks exactly like somebody that would ignore the face so much, but look at the body, and she's walking as if she's either like walking down the aisle as like somebody that's all giddy, or she's walking up to a casket at a funeral. Like, she's really unsure, she's really uneasy, and it's not something that she really wants to be a part of. She goes up and hugs them, and then they do the nice little flag swap, and she's like holding this flag, and you could tell she's uneasy with it. She's like trying to hold it away from herself. It's like, can you be any more hypocritical, like with your body, as to what you've been saying in the past? You look like you could really use a separation between yourself and Mexico. Like, that's the vibe that you've been giving off this entire time, that you would like to be separated, segregated with some kind of a barrier, whether it's a wall, a fence, or whatever it is. You look as if that would be something that you would advocate for at that very moment. And it's just admitting it's the first step. Admitting that before, when you said that you were in favor of a wall, before President Trump was talking about this, that you were in favor of it now. Admitting it would be beneficial and make you look much less hypocritical and much less like a crazy loon. But we know you, Nancy Pelosi. Having honesty and being on the left is a very, 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 very rare feat. So, with that, guys, I'm going to hop off. I appreciate you guys for coming in tonight. We have 1 week left. 1 week left, and then I will officially be streaming from the Muddy Waters of Freedom. So, if you guys have not gone over to the Muddy Waters page, go on to muddywatersoffreedom.com. Check us out. Hit the subscribe to the page, or not subscribe to the page. Bookmark the page. Go to the Facebook page. Go to the YouTube. Go to the Twitter. Go to the Instagram. Follow us on over there. We got a call from Washington. Ooh, got a Washington call. Hey.
Press 1 to send a voicemail.
Ben, how is it going, good sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind, man?
Venezuela.
Oh, all right. Shoot.
So, you ready for this?
I am always ready.
Okay, so you know that Venezuela is a inconsequential, pretty small country. I mean, if it wasn't for the golden oil, the U.S. wouldn't be involved, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
From what I see. The reason I think Russia gave them such powerful military equipment is because they have contracts to mine the gold that's still in the ground.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would give them more than the value of what they're going to get back. And I don't think they're going to walk away from it.
No.
So basically you have the giants of the world playing tug of war over a small country, similar to what happened in Syria.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I've been watching this a lot. I've been gathering as much information as I can from both sides, like people that oppose Trump, people that are pro-Trump. It doesn't matter. I'm taking in every kind of information I can about this, and I still can't figure out what's the number one concern for us being involved militarily. You know me, and I don't see an interest in us getting over there and getting involved. I understand that there's raw materials and there's reasons. There's geopolitical reasons. There's economic reasons for us to go there. I don't think that that's necessarily enough for us to get involved. I think condemning them is really the furthest that we should be going, right? Because obviously there's a lot of political issues there. There's a lot of socialist issues there. It's just a big giant pile of stink over there. Some would call it a shithole, if you will. But
I don't see. I don't want to just say, look, I'm afraid that somebody else is going to come over there and try to provide support, and I don't want them to, so we have to go in. Thankfully, because of the location, it's not nearly as vital as, say, Syria. It's not as vital as the Middle East, because that's an area where you're right in between everything. And so with Venezuela, it's not something there's just not enough value there for us to get involved, I would say.
Well, there's a lot of value potential.
Yeah.
The oil that they own is still in the ground for the most part. They own more oil reserves than Saudi Arabia. I don't know how much gold they have, but it's got to be worth something to the Russians, or else they wouldn't be fronting them military gear and support and basically opposing us right in our backyard.
Yeah.
The problem I see, the reason I think we need a wall so bad is because shit is going to hit the fan. Excuse my language.
Yeah, you're good.
I think there's going to be a massive flow of people trying to get away from it because these caravans that we've been seeing, that's just like that's beans compared to what would be traveling this way if war kicks off between 6 different countries.
Yeah.
I mean, China, Iran, and Russia all back Maduro. So does Mexico. So do you think Mexico is going to actually stop the caravans of people, like war caravans of people trying to get to the U.S.? I think they're going to obstruct as much as they can and make our border as difficult for us as they can.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mexico opposes us.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And I think that, when it's something like that, right? And certainly I've never been an advocate for a wall. I can understand it for a situation like that, but I don't think that that's necessarily that because that's never been something that has been pushed. I don't think that it should be used as, how do I explain this? So if you say somebody's wanting to buy something and they say for reasons A, B, and C, but reason D is really good, but they didn't say that, it certainly doesn't go in that way. I maybe if President Trump was better on his messaging, he'd pass that. But when it comes to that, certainly, right, we can't really handle a large number of people coming into this country and certainly unvetted and with those caravans, it makes a huge issue. But I really do think that, putting the National Guard down there, putting down more forces, more people to be able to ensure the protection of the sovereignty of the country would certainly be worth it. Certainly, even if we throw down the money right now for the wall won't be built in time, right?
Right. If war actually kicks off, we're going to have to strengthen our borders immediately, which is basically going to be personnel.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm seeing in the future is if things start to get serious between the U.S. and Russia, and China can be on the fence for now, I don't know if China would actually get involved, or Iran.
Yeah.
But basically, we're creating a vacuum in our backyard, and Russia's going to be forced to make a decision. Are they going to defend Venezuela against the U.S.? That's going to spread their forces thin. If anything between Israel and Iran happens, Russia's going to be involved right here in our backyard and not as available to protect Iran as they would be if nothing was going on in South America.
Yeah.
But the problem I see with Mexico opposing us is that they could be a hub for all 3 of those giants to be staging things. Like, Mexico is going to be friendly. If they want to land some stuff in Mexico and stage things, we don't want that. Like, that's going to be right over the border from us. In a wartime, if you could imagine, like World War II, people staging things right across the fence from you, and that country is friendly to your enemies. That's kind of the reason I'm saying hurry up with this wall.
Yeah.
So then we don't have to create a human wall with people that are going to get killed or mobbed.
Yeah, I think that the USMCA, the U.S. Mexico Canada Act, the thing that's replacing NAFTA, I think that should be something that gets addressed, right? If we're going to allow the three countries to basically be working with each other to be able to have like a board, effectively, from what I understand, sitting over this, then allowing for a foreign nation, whether you're sympathetic or your allies or just working together for the moment, bringing in military things certainly would be destructive to that bill, and certainly should be something that's brought into it. Right.
Exactly.
So
I don't know if you caught this. I think it was last week. Bernie Sanders was the first politician I've heard coming out in support of Maduro.
Well, he was in support?
That's the most dangerous thing I've ever heard Bernie Sanders say or do, because his following, I hate to say it,
oh yeah,
what he says doesn't have to make sense. Like nine out of 10 people that support Bernie Sanders is going to support what he says without doing their homework. And just for him to come out publicly and say he supports Maduro is going to tear our country in half.
Yeah.
So before he said anything, the majority of our country agreed that Guaido, the incoming president, is recognized by our country. But now that Bernie Sanders is basically ripping away from the view of our country, he's going to split the public in half.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing it on purpose because of his beliefs in socialism. He's gonna actually side with a real dictator just because of his communist loyalty.
Yep.
And
yeah, I mean, Bernie Sanders has been a big advocate. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just to prove the point that he's so opposed to Trump because Trump is a fictitious dictator, that he's actually going to support the real deal.
Yeah.
Just because of socialism.
Well, it's also because it's been Venezuela, and Bernie Sanders has been a giant supporter of Venezuela. For any country that's willing to implement socialism, whether it's in a small scale, a large scale, just on the social safety nets while maintaining a capitalist economy such as the Nordic countries, he's there to support the socialism through and through. And this was the tweet that I think you were referring to. So this was yesterday, the 23rd. The people of Venezuela are enduring a serious humanitarian crisis. The Maduro government, calls it the Maduro government, must put the needs of the people first, allowing humanitarian aid into the country and refrain from violence against protesters. So he wants to make it peaceful. He wants to help out, but he doesn't realize that it's been Maduro that has been destroying the humanitarian aid that's been coming into the country. They've been burning it. They've been throwing it out, trashing it, throwing it into the water, doing whatever it is that they can to destroy it, because he would rather have the people suffer than to support people who are protesting against him and allowing for the democratically elected, what was his name?
Guaido or Maduro?
Guaido. Yeah, that one. He refuses to acknowledge him as the true Venezuelan leader, and so certainly, right, he's just there to support and protect socialism and socialists themselves. You were spot on when you were saying no one will do their homework when they support him. I've got a couple Bernie supporters I'm working with right now to try to help guide them away. And slowly but surely, we'll get the Bernie Bros away from the Kool-Aid, if you will.
Right, and to be fair, I don't know if you know the gravity of their financial situation. The current exchange rate between a U.S. dollar and the Venezuelan bolivar is almost 25,000 to 1.
Yeah.
So, say if you you go down there for vacation and you want to exchange like $400, you need duffel bags to carry around the money that you're going to get. It's basically garbage. Like, there's money blowing around in the street and it's not worth picking up. And that's why all of their systems have failed. There's not going to be people out there dying to go to work for money that can't even buy food.
Yeah.
That's why the black market has exploded. I mean, the sex trade, human trade, drug trade, arms trade has all exploded because money is worthless. Like, I mean, people could trade a pistol for more food than a duffel bag full of cash would get them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Bernie is not even recognizing. But to be fair, the U.S. has had something to do with the value of their currency going down because we've sanctioned them, into oblivion. So turning off their market, their avenues of selling their goods, has had something to do with the U.S.'s decision.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, socialism is going to destroy any country that has an opportunity.
Yep, absolutely agree with you, man.
It's just a matter of time, and it's gone.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it, Ben. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to hop off the show, actually, as well. So I appreciate you calling in, man. I always love the insight and always love the questions and the thoughts. So thank you so much, man.
Right on, man. Thanks for the show.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah, man. All right. Thank you, Ben, again for calling in on that. RMR Cookie Monster called me a Trump supporter. No, I get routinely hated on for not liking. Yes, Stefan, that was Ben K. For not liking Trump. I'm not a huge Trump fan. He thinks the KKK is his friend, but clearly has Irish genes and pure. If you're saying I have Irish genes, I do not have Irish genes. I actually did the DNA strand. No Irish in me. That's fine. I understand. Ignorance is your way to live. Judging people and believing whatever it is that in your gut, not being objective, not actually looking for empirical evidence. That's what you suck at. So it's fine. I appreciate you for coming in nonetheless. I hope that you learned something. Hope that you heard something that came out from apart from your normal indoctrination sources such as the mainstream media. But with that, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Next time you guys will see me is Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Make sure you guys are starting to transition over there to the Muddy Waters Media, over there to muddywatersofreedom.com, Muddy Waters of Freedom on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow it, like it, get involved with conversations, love the memes, share them out, and help the movement continue growing. I appreciate you guys for having a great night, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Have a good one.